So today I was getting out my lawnmower and the battery appears to be completely dead. Let me show you what it's doing. So I've got the voltmeter hooked up to the battery. It's showing that it's fully charged at 13.2, but when you go to crank it, watch what happens. That's just turning on the ignition. You go to do that and it does nothing. Every once in a while it will make the starter kind of click a little bit, but it will not crank. So I'm gonna try jump starting it and seeing if that works. But I have a bigger issue. The valve cover on this thing, apparently the gasket is trashed on it because this is filthy nasty, and probably need to take that off and fix it. So I'm sure I'll be getting into that here shortly. Okay, so I'm back working on the lawn tractor. We're going to take off that valve cover and see what we can do to replace the gasket and probably do a valve lash adjustment. This lawnmower is probably 13 years old. How old is it? I think. So we're going to take it apart and see what we can find. I'm going to grab a wire brush. I'll be back. Well, the cork gasket seems to be okay-ish. Didn't look like it was broken anywhere, but it also wasn't on very tight. Just not sure where all this other leakage would be coming from, so probably just hold the cover back on and blow a lot of this off and see what we can do. Okay, so I looked up the valve lash adjustment. The intake is supposed to be 0.005 and the exhaust 0.007, and it's pretty easy to figure out which is which. Carburetor's here, so this is the intake. Exhaust is right here, so this is the exhaust valve. Pretty simple. So I've got the spark plug loosened, pulled out, so there's no compression. I can turn this easily. You can see the intake got all the way down, so that means that we should be able to check the exhaust and see if we're at 0.007 or if we need to tighten it down. So, and then got an 003 and an 004, put them together, it makes 7. Could stand to be a little tighter. Now we're going to pick up the 002 and 003 to make 5 for the intake. I'm going to spin the engine around until we get the exhaust valve bottoming out, and then we'll check this intake clearance. And there's tons of slop on that. So we're going to go ahead and tighten it down. So I know there's a Torx nut on the inside of that you're supposed to loosen before you adjust the valve nut, but I've never had any trouble doing it this way. There we go. 005, a little bit of drag, gets right in. Done with the valve adjustment. Now we gotta put the cover back on and see if we're gonna make a new gasket or just seal the one we got up with some goop. So after a closer inspection of the valve cover and the gasket situation, I think I'm just gonna cover it in Gorilla Snot, put it back together. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So there's the valve cover, and when you get it on here and hold it up against there, come around here, you can see a gap there, more gaps over here. It doesn't exactly, there we go, that's pushed on all the way. More gaps over here. It doesn't sit very tight. I think the cover's probably warped. These things are pretty notorious for having substantial leaks, so I'm going to use what I call Gorilla Snot, this Forma Gasket Permatex number 2. I've probably had this tube for 10 years, and the first little bit maybe a little bit runny. I'll just squirt that out on the rag. I'll cut the gasket both sides and slap it back in, and can't really make it much worse. And I always check the oil before I run this, so shouldn't be a big deal. So I did some research after doing this repair, and it appears that Kohler has realized that their cork gasket always gets cooked by the exhaust and will continually leak. It's not a very good design in this application. They went from a cork gasket to RTV on both sides of the cork gasket, back to the cork gasket, and now they recommend just straight silicone or RTV silicone. And then you put it on there, put the bolts in finger tight, and let it sit for 24 hours, come back, and then tighten it up. So I may be revisiting this, but it's not out of the norm for these engines to leak oil all the time through these valve cover gaskets. But I could spend all day researching the best way to go about fixing stuff, or I can just get it fixed and move on with life. And I'd rather just get it fixed and move on. It's survived this long. I don't foresee it being a very big problem.
Eric was stomping on the...
Okay, and we're done. What? What was Varick stomping on?
The cow bone, and then he broke some off.
The what?
Cow bone. He broke
Cow bone?
He was jumping on it, and then he...
That's okay. The squirrels always like eating that. Let me see it. Yeah? There you go. Cool. It's all right, bud. It's just, I don't know why we have cow bones in our yard, but we do, and the squirrels love eating on them. So.
Well, we have a big one.
Yep, I know.
Okay.
All right. Say bye.